Rental appraisals, should you trust them or trash them? In this video, you're going to learn how to spot an accurate rental estimate so you don't buy an investment property that you think is going to rent for a lot of money, but turns out to be a dud. And for that, we're going to look at this property. We had an investor looking at this 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouse in Beach Haven, which is on Auckland's North Shore. Now, the purchase price was pretty sharp, $769,000, and they received 2 rental appraisals. The first one was from Crockers, and that suggested that the property would rent for between $770 and $820 a week. They also had another one from Venture Management, which was very similar, said it would go for between $760 and $820 a week. And just so you know, Venture Management, they are a sister company of Opus Partners, which runs this YouTube channel. Now, if you take the lower end of those rental appraisals, this property would have a gross yield of 5.2%, which is a pretty good yield for a new build in today's market. But this investor, they felt that these appraisals were bit on the high side. And one risk that some investors worry about is that if you get a rental appraisal from either a real estate agent or a property investment company, people recommending that you buy a property, well, they might just give you a rosy rental appraisal that's on the high side to make the property look a bit like a better investment when perhaps it's actually not. So how do you tell whether that rental appraisal is accurate or overly optimistic? First off, what exactly is a rental appraisal? Well, it's an estimate given by a property manager of what a property could potentially rent for. But remember, they're best guesses. They're not an exact science. Whether they're accurate or not depends on how they were created. So did the property manager look at online data and base it on similar properties that are available on Trade Me, or is it based on their personal experience from actually renting properties in that specific area? So how do you check a rental appraisal? The first step would be to go online on Trade Me and find similar properties that are available. Now, in our case, there are only 15 properties currently available for rent in Beach Haven, and if we look for 2-bedroom properties, there are in fact none available today. So this step is a bit challenging in this instance because any properties that were on there and are available in Beach Haven, they're all a bit old, which aren't really representative of what a new build would rent for today. And one of the other tough things is that once properties actually rent, they get taken off Trade Me. So when I looked for 2-bedroom properties in Beach Haven just a couple of days ago, there were 5 available. Now they've all rented. So let's say that a property in Beach Haven rented for $770 last week, and that's when the property manager did their rental appraisal. You can't look to see that when you look today because it's already rented. So just remember, Trade Me gives you a small snapshot of what's happening in the market today. It doesn't show you what properties actually rented yesterday. The second step is to check out the market rent data on tenancy services. These show what properties actually rented for over the last 7 odd months. And what we can see is that the median property in Beach Haven rents for about $650. On the upper quartile, we're talking $720. So what that means is that about 25% of Beach Haven properties rent for $720 or more. Now, when we look at 2-bedroom properties in Beach Haven, the median is $555, and 25% of 2-bedroom properties in Beach Haven rent for $608 or more. But just remember that rents are rising really quickly, and this tenancy services data is up to 7 months old. But even so, looking at these numbers, you'd forgive the investor for thinking the rental appraisal seemed a bit high. So what did our investor do? They did step 3, which is to talk to multiple property managers. And in this case, the investor even spoke to their former landlord, who also felt the rent was a bit high. So they talked to another property manager, got an appraisal. They also thought that $770 a week could be a bit on the high side. So who do you trust? Because you've got 2 people on one side saying it's one amount, and then you've got 2 people on the other side saying perhaps it should be a bit lower. Well, rental appraisals are not created equal. And before I tell you why, if you enjoy learning about property in this fact-based way, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We release new videos every Monday and Wednesday. So which rental estimate do I trust? Well, someone who just looks at properties online isn't going to be as accurate as someone who is renting out properties in Beach Haven or the suburb you're looking to rent in every single day. You see, the person who looks online just sees what's on Trade Me today or what properties rented up to 7 months ago if they're looking at tenancy services. But a property manager who actually rents out properties in that suburb every day will have a much better sense of, well, what rented out yesterday and therefore what your property is going to rent out for tomorrow. So you need to ask yourself, who's got the most local experience? Who's got the track record of similar properties? And in this example, the property manager giving the higher rental appraisal actually told me on the phone that they'd rented out similar properties in the high 700s. And when they created that rental appraisal, there actually were similar properties renting around that mark on Trade Me. Whereas the former landlord, the other property manager, do they have the same experience in this specific market? You've got to ask yourself this. The other thing just to watch out for with property managers is they might say, I'd rent it out for a bit less than that because we'll be able to get it rented a bit quicker. And sometimes they'll say this as a point of difference, so you go with them and get your property rented out a bit quicker. And that makes sense. If you drop the rent, of course you're going to rent it out quicker. But that's why their rental appraisal might come in a bit lower than some others. But you know, one of the challenges with rental appraisals is they often don't provide a detailed explanation about how they actually reached that rental figure. And that lack of transparency can make it difficult to verify each rental appraisal. So I'd always recommend you pick up the phone, talk to the property manager and ask them, how did you come up with this rental appraisal? Is this based on your experience or is it based on what's available on Trade Me? And of course, if you're keen to invest in property, check out our website, opuspartners.co.nz. We help regular Kiwis grow their wealth through new build properties.